If you're parenting an autistic child or another neurodivergent child, and they've ever asked something like, "Have you had sex?" or "How many times have you and dad had sex?" and you froze, then this video's for you. These questions, they can feel confronting, shocking, and uncomfortable. And a lot of parents immediately think it's inappropriate. But most of the time, the question, it isn't about your sex life at all. It's about how your child's trying to understand the world around them. I'm Kath. I'm autistic and an ADHD myself, and I've worked in sexual health for over 30 years. I also parent neurodivergent kids too, and I've supported many families through moments exactly like this. So let me explain what's usually going on and how to respond calmly without oversharing or shutting your child down. Now, this isn't usually about diagnosis labels, it's about literal thinking. So many neurodivergent kids, they don't automatically filter questions. They don't just know what's private intuitively unless someone actually teaches them that clearly. And when they learn something like sex that leads to babies, their brain goes, okay, so how does that work in real life? And the question comes out as it is with no editing and no hidden meaning at all. So if ADHD traits are part of the picture, there's often no pause between the thought and the words as well. And when adults react with shock or embarrassment, kids don't learn that was private. Instead, they learn that was a question that caused a problem. That's a topic that's I can't talk about or ask them about. So the goal as a parent is to come up with a response that keeps things calm and clear for our kids. Now, there's a simple pattern that can work here with this sort of thing. First of all, acknowledge the question so your child knows it's okay to ask. You might say, hmm, that's a thoughtful question, or so you're wondering how that works. And sometimes it also helps to briefly clarify what they mean. You can say, what made you think of that? Or, so what did you mean by that? Now, this isn't about avoiding the question. It's just about finding out what they're actually trying to understand. It's getting a little bit more information. So here's a real example from my own parenting. Years ago, we were sitting at the dining table and my 6-year-old asked, "How many times have you and dad had sex?" Now I froze. I don't think I'll ever forget this moment. But my husband, surprisingly enough, he actually stayed calm and I must have taught him something. Actually said to my daughter, "So what made you think of that?" And suddenly it made a lot more sense because in her very literal logic way of thinking, sex equals one baby and we had 2 children. So that means we must have had sex twice. So that was it. She wasn't being intrusive at all. She was just trying to make the numbers add up and to make sense of what she knew. And that moment, it really taught me that how often the question asked isn't the question being solved. So, after acknowledging or clarifying their question, the next step is setting a boundary. You could say, it's a private adult question, or adults don't share details about their sex lives. There's no judgment, it's just a clear rule, it's a boundary. And after that boundary, you can keep learning happening in a safe direction. You might say, what I can talk about, though, is how sex works in general. Or you could say, I can talk about bodies, babies, or consent, just not my personal experiences. And this protects your privacy and it also protects your child's curiosity at the same time. Now, let's look at some different things that you can say or use when these things happen with your kids. You could say something like, that's a private adult question. I don't share personal details, but I can explain how sex works. Or you could say, I'm glad you asked me that. I won't answer about my body, but I can answer the science part. Or some questions are okay to wonder about, just not okay to ask everyone. So privacy, it's not about being rude or being polite. It's a safety rule. And you can say things like questions about genitals and sex lives are private because not everyone feels safe answering them. You can also say things like those are inside thought questions or they're questions that we can think about, but it's not okay to ask out loud. And it really helps if you can say this clearly. clearly as well. That curiosity, it's okay, or asking me is safer than asking the kids at school because we don't want them learning this stuff at school because they're going to get misinformation. Now, responding this way, it actually shows your child how personal information is protected and it lowers the chance of embarrassment for them later on. And it helps your child to keep coming back to you as well. Because neurodivergent kids, they don't pick up the social rules by accident. They need those rules explained clearly and calmly as well. Now, if this helped, the next video to watch is a one on what to do when kids ask questions that you don't know the answer to. Because staying calm when you don't know matters just as much. And I'll link to that on the end screen.